recently is that the most important thing that I'm trying to achieve is peace of mind, and kind of just living day by day with that.
uh, Pursuing money is the way to get that comfort or that peace of mind.
But at the same time, it's about having empathetic communication on both sides, you know.
Mhm.
So I think not just from the boss or the leader to the staff. There's an empathy towards the leadership as well. That has to work both, and just in general. So success for me is a gray area. I look at success now, and this is only in the past year and a half, where am I able to get peace of mind, and am I reacting to situations differently than. But success, in my opinion, now, which I've changed, is not based on what happens outside, or not based on because Daniel asked me for an interview. You know, I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. For me, the ultimate success, which I'm still trying to get, is what? How do you get peace of mind? Okay, that's a great statement. For me, is not caring at all what people think of me.
Here's a question, if I may, of course.
Please.
What makes Ramzi cry?
Oh yeah. Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, pleased to be with you again and again with Great Minds, Great Story. And this time, I have Ramzi Ghurani with me. Good morning, Ramzi.
Hi. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here with me. And with Money Talks, like I had this habit of giving some introduction, but this time I would say, hey, you have the mic and let's know who's Ramzi.
Well, that could be a very short answer or a very long answer. But to make a long story short, I am somebody who is very passionate, and currently I'm in Dubai for multiple reasons, but one of the major reasons is because I came to join the family business, which is Petra Insurance Brokers. I've established another business, which is an insurance technology company called Cardea. That's not who I am. They're just a bit of a background of what I do and
Exactly.
why I'm
That's
here.
what I was saying. Like, okay, that's
Yeah.
what you do. That's your business. But who's Ramzi? The person.
So, and I know that's the thing. That's what I started off by saying. I'm a passionate guy, and saying that and I'm pretty adaptable to things. So I've been able to do different things in my life that excite me. Let's put it that way. And so that's why I'm here and doing these two things here that excite me. Other than that, like for me, who I am as a person and all that, that's a long question that, every day I learn new things about myself, to be honest with you. But one thing I have learned, I mean, that's pretty much the top of mind these days. So just that answer alone, I think, would give an idea of who I am. I think a lot. I wonder about different philosophical things, why we do this, why we do that, why we go after money so much, why are we so consumed by that logic when it's all man-made, you know? But the one thing that I have believed in recently is that the most important thing that I'm trying to achieve is peace of mind, and kind of just living day by day with that, as opposed to running around trying to get as much money as possible, or trying to get this client, or trying to get this approval from somebody else, whether it's personal or business. So for me, I look at myself as somebody who is conscientious about what is internal as for every human being. And I've learned this recently. And I think the ultimate prize in life is to be able to have peace of mind from the minute you wake up and while you're sleeping. That's what I truly believe. So that's a bit of a longer answer.
You mentioned two things. You said
Yeah.
peace of mind, and this is like a target. And you mentioned also pursuing money.
Yeah.
I think pursuing money is the way to get that comfort or that peace of mind.
Well, unfortunately, I would have to say unfortunately, yes. And I say that why? Because there's two things in life, in my opinion. One is you accept what is available and what is happening, and then or you don't accept. That's very simple. And my perspective is is you have to have a very interesting relationship with money. And I think at some point lost the plot. Money is this, money is that. So, I have to get it, I have to get it. And you forget why. But I do think there is the way life is been created. And it's really that these rules are man-made that have been that have been passed on to generations. That money is an important aspect of life. But I think it's important because if you have a good, healthy relationship with the concept of why you have money and what you do with that money, you can make more of it and do good with that as well. That means doing good for yourself, not to necessarily be greedy, but at least you'll have that peace of mind that,
At
certain
least
targets.
financially, you're not worried. You will be just
Worried,
like,
yeah, but the question is,
putting this
why do
aside.
you want? Yeah, but why do you want money, right? Like, what's the purpose of that? It's of course to live and to have a good life and all these things. And again, I go back to the thing where it's man-made. Like, it's the concept is man-made, but you have to go with that flow. You can't just assume. You can't just say, okay, I'm just going to go live in a forest. People have done that. That's not what I want. I'm not equipped for that psychologically. I don't see myself as being mentally strong to do that. But I do believe if you're going to say stuff like what I'm saying, that's the next level. But then I realized one thing: instead of me going after the money and just for the sake of it, just to be spending, I do believe that I have two daughters and I have a life. Um,
God,
and me, thank you. That's an important aspect for me to be able to provide. Because bottom line is universities, um,
mm,
just living life,
it's,
experiencing life is there, and
it's
that's
not
just a
easy.
peace of mind for me. Yeah.
Okay, beside money, yeah, which is the challenge of everybody, it's like, can you have or tell us about the time when you faced a major challenge in your career and how was that challenging for you and how did you come over it?
Well, for me, there's so many challenges that are different challenges, if you will, that I've come across. But
Name one major one.
um, I think the major one for me was having, well, the COVID and what happened after COVID. So COVID is one thing, and I think it affects every industry differently. And so for me, I think the major thing was understanding that perhaps the way I was running the business wasn't exactly how I want to do it anymore. It wasn't the way to do this in terms of philosophically and the standards. As a business, we have always had a good reputation, and rightfully so. But at the same time, yeah, and I think also recently we've had a lot of, when I say recent, the past years on social media and on Google, all these reviews, testimonials. We've done a good job for people, and we've been able to do good for people's lives in terms of claims and getting their money back for businesses. People haven't lost their jobs because we've been able to negotiate on their behalf. But that's a good thing. The thing is also, I realized that I was accepting a certain standard that wasn't acceptable for me anymore. That I had simply grown as a human, and what was acceptable maybe 8 years ago isn't as acceptable it is acceptable for me now, because my standards of excellence have also increased. So the biggest problem that was alleviated, or in the it's still in the process of, is having a new structure, and that involves people and that tough conversation with people. And basically, I had to put my foot down and say, like, this is what I want, and this is the future, and either you're on the bus or you're not on the bus, because I know that if it continues with the status quo, especially after COVID, where things have changed, and I guess I'm privy to that information, or that's why I'm at this position as a leader, is I have a certain vision, and either you increase your capabilities or capacity or attitude or whatever it is, or else you get left behind. Not because we want to leave you behind, but because naturally the way it's going to occur, naturally it's going to leave you behind as you move forward. So we had a lot of changes structurally, and that was a major stress point, because They were people with us for a very long time, and we've had to kind of revamp the company in that way. And I really relied on the values and who we stand for as a company to kind of take us through, which was very stressful.
Especially when
Yeah, there was,
when you talk as a business owner, you know the challenges as a business, and you want everybody to understand the size of that challenge, and to make sure that they are all aligned with you and they have the same goal, same dream, very clear in the vision of the company. And yeah, just like you said, in the bus or out of the bus.
yeah,
Sometimes
and
it's hard, but sometimes yeah, it's this is what has to be done.
I think the
It's
thing with that, yeah, but the thing I think with that is that you know, your perception of what it is clear, but for others it's completely different, and that's their own way of understanding the situation, and that it doesn't make them bad people or anything like that at all. But at the same time, it's about having empathetic communication on both sides, you know.
yeah.
So I think not just from the boss or the leader to the staff, there's an empathy towards the leadership as well. That has to work both ways, and I
I
think
remember
that's
this.
missing. Yeah.
Um, the other day I saw a video of Simon Sinek, and he was like talking about two scenarios where a business owner or a boss talking to a sales guy that is not performing for the second quarter in a row. And there are two scenarios, and it was so attracting um, my attention. The first one is like, hey, you are not performing for a second quarter in a row. So if you don't pay attention, I don't guarantee your future. This is your next quarter. The other scenario goes like, hey, you're doing, you're not matching the goals for the second quarter in a row. What's wrong? Are you okay? And that's like a big difference. It's like how uh, this employee will accept the message, because the next day, the very next day, is like, how do you imagine that he's under the monitor for the next quarter? If he's not performing, he's leaving the bus. Or the other scenario, there he was like, are you okay? Is there anything wrong? How we can help? Because we know you can perform. So the second day will be, yes, I can do even more than I did before. So it's like you said, it's like how they accept it, and how you just like sell out the story and deliver the message, and let them feel the size of the vision or the mission that is upcoming for this new brand, or this new story, or this new challenge of the coming year.
Exactly,
I
and
know
I
you
think,
got it. Yeah.
but I'll tell you something. It's still a challenge because you have to also be tough sometimes, and with what you stand for, and there's boundaries, because you can say this and you can say that. It also, the same time, it comes from inside. So it's not always the case where the manager or the GM or the boss or whatever is always being tough. Sometimes they have to be tough to wake them up, and then sometimes it doesn't work for certain people. Sometimes they need their ass kicked, you know. Sometimes they don't, and that happens. And that's
Yeah.
in fact, it's mostly about coaching. And when you're a coach of a sports team, there's like 20 players or whatever players on each on your team, and there's different personalities. Some want that hard message, and some don't reply to that hard message. And that's the key to a coach or a leader, if you will. Like, I look at myself as a coach, not as a general manager or whatnot. I look at myself as a coach on the ground to motivate them in certain ways. And you have to know their personalities. That's very important. Like, that's the biggest thing. So sometimes if it's super nice or super soft and caring, it doesn't add up to them. Sometimes they need something that's a bit more tougher. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
other ones, they get motivated or reminded about what could be as a potential and all that. So, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work either way. There's no chemistry. There was chemistry 2 years ago, but not anymore because of whatever reason, you know? So it is a fluid situation that there is no right or wrong at all. And you just simply have to go with the
Uh-huh.
flow. Yeah. There's no other
No,
way. And
moving
you have
towards
to
like
be,
moving towards your industry. Let's just like have a bigger picture. when you talk about risk management and insurance, it's very complex, and there will be misconceptions and misunderstanding of at some point, or even the contract. And what was the most like funny story or uh, any misconduct or misconception you got through your career or your offering as an insurance company? Can you recall
Well,
any story?
yeah, well, for me, we're insurance brokers, so our job is to our job is to protect the rights of the client, right? And we have our partners, which is the insurance companies, but we have access to the market. So you have different things that happen on a daily basis. I think the biggest misconception for what we do, our job as an insurance brokerage entity, is to make sure that we understand your needs, and we provide you your needs through different ways. Any other you want options, but they all have to hit your certain needs that you've set. So I think some of the crazy stories that have happened is basically, we've been clear. It's been clear with what is needed as next steps, and then we've had a lot of cases where, the client has to put in honest information on the form, and there was complete lies on the form that we don't know about until when there's a case that happens, and then it becomes this back and forth where no, it's a he said, she said thing, and we're protected because we've done our due diligence in terms of how to document all this. At the same time, though, it's your client and they may have messed up, and you're going to see there's a solution. And so one of our things that we do is we don't really turn our back on the client. Sometimes we have to, because it's draining our energy and time, and it's just toxic. But that doesn't happen very often. We make sure that, okay, it's an honest mistake. We can find a way out. We can negotiate with the insurance company on their behalf. And I think the part that bothers me the most here is that if it's not appreciated. So you brought us into this issue because of lack of clarity in your information, and so I'm talking from a client's perspective, and yet we've created a solution for you that is very workable, but it's not appreciated. So what has happened to that is that it's taking away time from my other clients to help them because of this reason. And so there's been many cases where there's been like just wrong information. I can't really state them 100%. And it's just made it into a very long conversation. We're talking about over a period of a few months with insurance companies to kind of convince them that maybe you should give them a chance. They didn't mean to and all that. And then that becomes a very, very tricky conversation to have because it gets very intense. It gets very, I'm really putting it down right now.
Especially when there is a lot in the way. Right.
Yeah. There's this phone call, there's this. And then things that are very sad sometimes, or that are like cancer situations, cancer cases that have popped up, and honestly speaking, they would be covered if they were completely honest that certain things have happened in the past, as per the form, because the insurance company needs to know what is the details to be able to assess that risk and price it properly. And so it's just a common misconception, which I used to believe before, that insurance brokers and companies were crooks. I always used to think like that before I joined the insurance business, joining the family business. But now, I see a lot of heroes in the insurance industry. I wouldn't be staying in this industry if I didn't believe in the clarity and the goodness of it. There's been so many cases where businesses have been saved, meaning jobs have been saved, people that have had cancer or diseases that have been saved because financially the insurance company took care of it, and people think, oh, they don't pay the claim. They don't pay the claim if it's not as per the agreement or the contract. Of course, they won't pay the claim. Also, there's a lot of fraud. A lot of people commit fraud. Yeah. This is a problem, actually. This is the biggest problem. The second other problem is the hospitals and clinics. They increase prices every year. The insurance is basing it on the prices of the hospitals, not the opposite. And they need to make money, right? So I think the insurance industry as a whole has always been ridiculed in the wrong way. And I think it's important that we support this because it's a very important part of society. When things go wrong, insurance is usually the first people that are called. All of them.
Okay,
Like from the
let's
from Titanic.
let's hold on now. Hold on.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we've been so into the business. Let's go back to Ramzi. How about it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Ramzi, being a successful founder, CEO of multiple businesses, is no easy feat. Okay. How this journey has impacted to shape Ramzi and continue, uh, just like you said, continue changing this character of Ramzi.
Well, I don't think I'm successful actually. I really don't. Yeah, I mean,
That's a good sign that you're looking for more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm successful, or I haven't defined what is success yet. And I guess I go back to that concept when I first said it is peace of mind as a human being. So I'm still formulating that. I mean, I think I've done a good job with all the challenges in the market and all the pandemic stuff and the financial crisis stuff and all these things. But I think that what it is that I've become stronger. And I'm not satisfied anymore. I used to think, okay, I get a good deal, I'm successful. No, I really don't think so. What I believe though is that when you have these challenges that happen, I think also you bring about those challenges to yourself to kind of prove your worth. And I've kind of stopped that as much, as it's a bit of it's a concept, psychological thing. Like basically, you're looking for a problem to solve, so you're worthy. And that part I've been more aware of, but I don't want that anymore. I don't want that kind of life for business. So, and just in general. So success for me is a gray area. I look at success now, and this is only in the past year and a half, where am I able to get peace of mind? And am I reacting to situations differently than before? And I've been able to do a lot of cleansing because of that. Like I really get into the subconscious cleansing, and I've gotten into details with this. And I'm not just talking about meditation. I'm talking about actual getting into the mind and psyche. What drives me to be like that? Because I'm not happy consciously in certain things. Why? Why am I doing it? There's a mismatch with what's internal, what's external, or conscious and subconscious, if you will. So I got into that deeply, to be honest with you, and I'm heavily into this. I even got a certificate for how to correct incorrect thinking patterns, and it's just one of those things that I had to do, and I felt very passionate about because I believe that we are all able to be happy and successful, but success, in my opinion now, which I've changed, is not based on what happens outside or not based on because Daniel asked me for an interview, I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. For me, the ultimate success, which I'm still trying to get, is how do you get peace of mind? Okay, that's a great statement. For me, is not caring at all what people think of me. Like that's, for me, is not caring 1% about anybody, what their opinion is of me. So that means I can do whatever I want. Like that to me is a successful human being. Like you are who you are from inside and you do it. Not worrying about what other people think of you. I'm not saying being unethical or because if you're okay with it, you're okay with it. It doesn't matter if people think of you as being unethical, or whatever. It's who you are. And I respect people like, and that's something that I struggled with growing up. Is where people thought I was a nice guy, I'm good, and this and that, and it created a lot of conditional relationships in the past. And that's something that I believe that I've defined what is success for me is not caring at all what people think, actually.
Okay, here's a question, if I may, of course.
Please.
What makes Ramzi cry?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think what makes me cry is two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is happy, one is not happy. The happy part is when I see somebody that had failed or was struggling, but kept trying, and then ultimately triumphed, whatever they were trying to do. Like that to me hits the target for me. So sports is a huge thing. People are a huge thing. That's something that really moves me, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part is if it's more of the when I'm burnt out, you know, which has happened a few times, less and less so as I've grown older. But when I've burnt out, when I feel like whatever I do, there's no hope sometimes, and that does, you go into that dark place, and that's a very a sad situation. However, usually what happens after that is a bit of a tramp, a catapult to get to something different. So I just look at both sides are potentially very beautiful.
Because it touches you deep.
Yes, yes, for sure. It's one of them is like hits the target perfectly with what you feel, what makes sense for you. And the second part is this doesn't make sense at all. So what are we gonna do about it?
Beautiful. Okay, so we crossed the 20 minutes. So I usually wrap it up with more into leaving a bit of a smile, a small smile back there. It's like human nature loves to see smile. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's like 3 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool? Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. 2023. Gain or lose one habit. What would it be? One to lose, one to gain.
One to lose the overthinking. Yeah, lose the overthinking, and to gain, I would say gaining more confidence in what I believe in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most interesting thing you learned recently? You mentioned that at the beginning. So what was the recent one?
I mean, the most recent thing that I realized how amazing meditation is. I never realized how remarkable it is for you. I've only been doing it properly, consistently for a month and 3 days now, since March 4th. And I was in London on my own. And I'm like, I had a bad situation happen when I was there. I'm like, screw this, I'm doing it now. So I did a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, and like it was absolutely remarkable and addictive. And I'm the last person to do these things up until the last month and 3 days. So that's something that I've learned how amazing it is for you, for your brain. Technically, for your mind, it is the best. I'm shocked. Yeah.
Oh, what kind of treatment?
So I would recommend. Yeah, I would recommend go to Dr. Joe Dispenza's book. Get it. It's called the Habit of Breaking, the Habit of Breaking Yourself, or something like that. It's the Joe Dispenza book, very famous. And you have to read the whole book. I did the audiobook, and then there's like a section for meditation, and it's a 4-week. You do week 1 for 7 days. You do week 2 for 7 days, and it escalates to becoming an hour and 20-minute meditation, and it just helps you so much. It just helps me out a lot with certain things, like even during the day when I'm conscious, you're feeling a certain feeling, and there's a technique to help you stop that feeling and kind of reverse it. And that's just great. That changes everything, Daniel. That changes everything.
Wow.
And I recommend everyone to do it. Yeah. Okay. Because you have a negative feeling. It's coming up inside of you. Your body's feeling something, anxiety or whatever. And if you recognize it, your mind can say, stop it. And then it shifts it the other way, the positive way. And it is really quite remarkable. Strongly recommended.
This moment, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Well, I
click a click and you'll be there.
Click and you'll be there. That's a very interesting question because I've traveled quite a few places. You know what? I would love to go back to Barcelona, but that's something that I feel very close to. But I'll tell you something where I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go as well. That is a very much of a secret place for me. Is Gibraltar.
What's that?
Yeah,
where is that?
It's in between Morocco and Spain, somewhere in between there.
Well,
it's like a little passage. It's a small, very small country, which I
Jabal
think is
Tarek.
quite, yeah, Jabal Tarek. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Exactly. So that
why?
I mean is,
Why is that spot in particular?
I don't know. It's just always been very mystical. It's in a uh, very romantic or very exotic, not exotic. It's a very mysterious area of the world, in my opinion. And I think it's quite quite an interesting thing to visit for there. But yeah, I mean, that's that's the weird place that I would visit too. I don't think there's anything exciting about it, but it's just more of those places that are kind of secluded that interest me sometimes.
Beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
Ramzi, what to say? It's like the 28 minutes just passed like that, and it was like so interesting to have you. So I have to
Thank you
go.
very much.
And
Yes.
thank you very much for being my guest. And for you, our viewers, watch this and listen. And this is the link I will leave below to get in touch with Ramzi and their more, because we are human and we love stories and we learn from each other. So see you next Monday, and thank you very much, Ramzi.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Take care.